Yeah, no, certainly. The original proposal was to gift orangutans to foreign countries, which are, the countries which were purchasing most of our palm oil. And this was done to supposedly improve our environmental image. But I mean, this proposal was met with complete derision and just disapproval from everyone.
Tell us a bit more about the reaction and why there's been so much opposition to this initial scheme.
Yeah, I mean, the main criticism that we're seeing from the NGO community is that gifting orangutans to foreign countries is not going to solve the systemic issue of deforestation and deforestation across a range of sectors, not just oil palm, but also other threats, emerging threats that we're seeing in Malaysia, like industrial timber plantations.
So how has the scheme been altered then?
Well, recently, the same minister who announced the original orangutan diplomacy approach announced that this approach would now feature in situ conservation of orangutan in their natural habitat. But the general principle applies where, companies can now adopt an orangutan for conservation, but the conservation will be done in Malaysia rather than abroad.
Does that make sense to you? Palm oil purchasers can sponsor orangutans?
Well, it's one approach of many, but it doesn't really solve the issue that we're seeing of the continued approvals for oil palm expansion. Recently we saw the same minister who's been supporting these approaches announced that Malaysia would ban the conversion of forests for new oil palm plantations, but this ban does not cannot address the issue of state governments in Malaysia holding complete control over matters of land within the state. So, whatever the federal government does cannot influence how states decide to use their own land individually. So, we need strong legislative proposals to address the issue of systemic deforestation, not necessarily fighting fires.
And Adam, how important is the palm oil industry to Malaysia, and how has it impacted the orangutan population over the years?
Yeah, I mean, the oil palm is one of the biggest contributors to Malaysia's GDP, and historically, it's also been one of the biggest contributors to Malaysia's deforestation. So just to give some context, RimbaWatch, my organization, is a data-driven and evidence-based organization. We've spent the past few years tracking approvals and proposals for projects involving deforestation. And in our most recent report, called The State of the Malaysian Rainforest, we found that 23% of future threats to Malaysia's forests are being driven by palm oil expansion, which is equivalent to about 750,000 hectares.
Are there sufficient efforts by the government to protect wildlife in Malaysia?
Certainly not. I mean, just beyond palm oil, it has to be noted that, our report found that 2.5 million hectares of forests are under threat from industrial timber plantations. And what we're kind of seeing is that the gradual decline in deforestation rates for oil palm is being matched by a gradual increase in deforestation rates for other commodities, such as, for example, timber. And, like I mentioned earlier, Malaysia has been making some strides in tackling deforestation for oil palm. For example, it's made the Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil, the MSPO standard, mandatory, and therefore a lot of new deforestation for palm oil cannot be certified under the standard. But again, deforestation continues to be approved by agencies such as the Department of the Environment, and continues to be proposed by companies in states, which are not bound to sort of federal, policy views on deforestation.
And just, Adam, back to the orangutan diplomacy program. It's been likened to panda diplomacy, which China claims helps to build ties with other countries. Can these animal exchange programs work successfully?
I mean, it depends how you measure success. If you're looking at success in terms of improving Malaysia's brand image within, certain groups, possibly. If we're looking at success in terms of a reduction in deforestation rates across all sectors in Malaysia, definitely not.
Well, Adam, Farhan, great to get your thoughts, and thank you for sharing them with us on The World.
Thank you.